Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of my Minecraft Let's Play. This second episode will include a few time lapses, as well as some updates along the way to guide you through. Today we will be going mining for the first time, and building the first house of this series. I'm trying out some new editing techniques, so tell me what you liked and disliked, and thank you for tuning back in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and the rest of whatever day you're living right now. At the beginning of today's episode, you'll see me moving my little setup to a better spot in the plains. This will be explained more and expanded upon in the next episode, so if you're curious as to why it's better, check back in next time. I'm having a great time making these episodes, although I do have to admit it is stressful with the gameplay. I can only do everything once in game and can't restart, so it makes me nervous. Not too dissimilar to life, I guess. At least with these voiceovers, I can keep trying to make them as perfect as I can. It's so strange how these two things are in the same video. A chaotic, never retriable game connected with a perfect voiceover, or as perfect as I can get it. I know I'm no saint. Another beautiful piece of black and white life, I guess. So why don't we get started then? I wanted to start today's episode with a hopeful question. How do you actually change yourself for the better? While this is most certainly not going to be answered fully in one Minecraft video you found on YouTube, I'll give it my best shot with a short and sweet version. I think true, long-lasting change comes from the foundation built on figuring out what you don't want to be, and why you don't want to live that way. I've been someone in the past who has decided what to change into just from seeing what others like, and copying that into myself. Seeing someone else enjoying their life and thinking that I could have that too, if only I could change into them, or change my life to be theirs. I held on to that way of thinking for most of my adolescence. It never made me more content with my life, and the things I changed into, I didn't like being. But I felt stuck after I realized this. I didn't know what I actually wanted. I've been following everyone else's music for so long that I felt deaf when I tried to create my own. I've known a lot of people in my life whose story seems to match the same progression. They tried to be accepted, and then were left with nothing after they realized they hated who they changed into. So for anyone who doesn't know what they want to be yet, or someone who does but can never seem to make it happen, start instead with figuring out what you would hate to live as. I've always thought that it was easier to find out what you hate than what you love, and sometimes I think seeking happiness is best done by seeking a lower quantity of misery. So start with figuring out and avoiding what you hate or loathe. Don't do things that keep you up at night. Don't be around people who make you feel worthless. Avoid foods you don't like eating, and don't watch content that makes you upset without reason. Simple stuff, I know. You probably learned this while you were younger. But simple is where all complicated things start. After all, this voiceover started with the word hi. Now, all this talk of hating things and focusing on it doesn't sound very hopeful, but just wait a moment and I promise it will get better. The next thing to do is to actually change something. This isn't an overnight process, and don't mentally check out and listening just because I said something cliche. The reason I even mention this is because a lot of people will beat themselves up when they aren't perfect. They'll want to work out 3 times a week, miss a day, and then beat themselves up so much that now they loathe working out for the fear of having to hate themselves for missing it in the future. Change comes from realizing that you're not perfect, and you will never change into any kind of perfection. So when you're growing and changing, allow yourself to fail without hating yourself. When you make a mistake and don't act how you want to, acknowledge it, figure out how you'd like to handle it in the future, and move on. That's all you need to do. No need to flog yourself. Pain isn't what helps you change. It builds a wall between you and the person you want to be. If you want to feel beat up, let the rest of the world do that for you. But allow yourself, the only person truly on your own side, to forgive yourself. So now that you know to start with avoiding what you hate, and not to hate yourself in the process, what are the actual steps that change entails? When you're trying to change, it all starts with being aware of what you want to change, and more importantly, when you can actually apply that. The best time to realize, of course, is in the moment, but that isn't always so easy. When you do catch yourself in a moment where you could enact your change, then try your best in that moment, but realize that your best will change day to day. Today you might not be able to do as much as yesterday, but it might still be all you can muster. Sometimes you realize that you missed an opportunity to change, minutes, days, or weeks later. When this happens, acknowledge that you slipped, figure out how you want to do it in the future, and move on to the rest of your day. When you do something well, congratulate yourself, but don't set expectations for the future. Don't think it will be easy from here on out, or that you'll be able to do that every time. Perfection might be the goal, but it will never be the road that you'll walk on. Perceive, understand, and forgive. Then you'll be able to change. I know this is all quite general advice, but it is the best I've come up with. Most advice I've seen on change talks about what to change, and never focuses on how to actually change. I tried my best. I hope this helped, and good luck. I think this is my favorite song in this video. It's called Reverie, and I linked it below so you can listen to it more. So far, we've started mining and made our first mine shaft. I used the ladder you saw me craft up in the last episode to do this. I placed it at the very center of what will become our base in today and future episodes. I didn't see the creeper in the mine shaft and was so close to dying when he dropped down on me. Without any food, I was really low on health, and still really haven't recovered fully yet. We got our first couple handfuls of diamonds, which was used for a diamond pick and some obsidian, and later on these will be used for an enchanting table. I like to wait to use diamond tools until I can fully enchant them. You'll actually see that I won't use it for the rest of this video. I'll place it in a chest for later. I know it slows down the early game, but it allows me to keep the tools for longer when I do get them set up. A unique challenge I didn't think of until this episode is that I can't farm leather to make books for the enchanting table or bookshelves. I thought up a couple options to get leather in the next episode that doesn't involve farming or killing, so stick around to see how I overcome that challenge. Coming up, we will be setting up a food system, gathering some trees, and then finally, building our first base. You'll see that I'm so low on food that I can't sprint anymore. I don't actually regain any hearts until the very end of the video. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but without having meat to eat early on, it makes it very difficult to get food. I'm going to the river to check on the farm I set up, which hasn't grown at all, probably because the area wasn't loaded while I was off mining. I'm collecting some more seeds to set up a farm closer to the base if you're curious as to why I keep collecting grass. I just caught this creeper out of the corner of my eye. Good thing I did, because it might have killed me if I didn't. I wanted to go over something quickly that I forgot to mention last episode. I mentioned before that I'm a pretty private guy. I intend and hope to keep it that way as much as possible. I'll talk about myself as much as I can and as much as you want me to, but I won't mention any very personal details or any kind of relationship I have with another person, including friends, family, relationships, or even strangers. If you have questions for me, I'm more than happy to share everything and anything, as long as it's to deal with only me. I'm most comfortable talking about my ideas and feelings about life, and less comfortable with very specific situations. Just shoot me a question, and I'll say as much as I can. I just wanted to put it out there as my privacy is something I value deeply. Thank you for understanding. I wanted to show how I set up farms in Minecraft. I don't think most people know, but you can set up a farm 4 blocks in any direction from a water source. So this grid of 9x9 is how I set up all of my farms usually. You'll also see that I plant the seeds in rows separated by 1 column each. This is actually in the game code and makes the growing faster. So if you're struggling for food, plant your seeds in rows: wheat, carrots, potatoes, and repeat. One quick thing to mention before we move on to my next topic for the episode. During the beginning of the mining time lapse, I accidentally ate some rotten flesh. I totally forgot about the vegan challenge, if I'm to be honest, and I'll be more careful moving on. I got rid of these apples here to replace the hunger that I got from it. I hope this is a good fix. So on to our next topic. I wanted to talk about empathy. I think our reaction to pain is relative to our own experiences, and not others. So everyone reacts the same to the worst situation that they've ever experienced. This is why toddlers act like they're on the verge of death when they drop their cookie, or why a very privileged person freaks out beyond belief when they don't get their way. They are reacting to the worst thing that they've ever experienced, even if it does seem benign to us. Understanding feelings this way has allowed me to empathize with others' problems a lot easier, and to stop judging them so harshly. When I see someone reacting negatively to something that I wouldn't necessarily mind myself, I just remember that we have different scales for situations that make us uncomfortable, but the same scale for how we react to those things. I think empathizing with people who are dealing with what we view as less than us is really difficult for most people. When, for example, you're bedridden and depressed and then someone comes along and complains about their lunch, it's kind of hard not to get a little slighted on the inside. It is hard to empathize in these situations because you're the one who's wanting affection or attention. I recommend listening, even if it is hard. Say that you're sorry or however you'd like to empathize, and then talk about your experience, and mainly express how you need them right now. I say this because people are more likely to help you when you help them, and sometimes you have to help others first, especially if it's something small, so that they can help you. Inconvenient, believe me, I know. You realize that you're helping them and making their life better, and they are hopefully doing the same for you. It is a good interaction. You don't get into your head too much. For our final topic of today's episode, I'd like to talk about different perspectives on life and how I choose to view life myself. I'm going to talk about the ones everyone knows first and what I think about them. And just a reminder here, I'm no one wise, so if you notice anything here or anywhere on this channel that you disagree with or think you have a better option, don't be afraid to correct me or share your opinion. I'm happy to learn more and find a better way to live life, if you think you have one. So the first and most commonly known is optimism. Trying to view life and its situations as positive as you can, and thinking about the future is working out. I think this is great to have such a happy way of viewing life. It can make you reevaluate your bad situations and find the positive, lovable parts of how you're living life. But I think it ignores how things can go wrong. Sometimes life will suck. I have felt that optimism can make the crash down from that high really hard. When you're floating in the clouds, hell can seem a little darker than usual if you get pulled down. Pessimism is the opposite, always viewing life through guarded, skeptical, and oftentimes negative perspectives. This way we'll think life is bad, has been bad, and will be bad. This is a great option, surprisingly, as it allows you to deal with the harsh things in life without being surprised by them, and letting you plan for them in advance. Its difficulties come from always being skeptical of happiness and trying to avoid it, thinking it's a false illusion and pointless to indulge because you'll just be brought back down. It can make you avoid the good parts of life, and make your dark times worse, and your happy times non-existent. The third and less known is realism. This way of looking at life avoids the artificial change in how you view your life like the other two involve. This way seeks to view life as good when good and bad when bad. I know this seems obvious when it's said this way, but surprisingly I see very few people who live life like this. The benefits of this is that you're able to deal with your situations accurately and avoid fear when you're happy and avoid the crash from happy thinking. The negatives, and there are some with this way, is that there isn't really an option for when you just need hope, when you're dredging through the trenches. When you are having a bad day, you only view it as bad, really, and there isn't a hope you can look to. You could, quote unquote, realistically say that life always gets better, but realistically, you don't know that. You may be saying that pessimism doesn't hope either, but the difference is that pessimism thinks that they'll never get out of those days, and they plan to stay there. The difficult is their home. Hope is optimism's home. For realism, you'll be a nomad of emotion for the circumstance of today. The final one for this list today will be my Frankenstein creation that I choose to use. I call it pessimistic optimism. I call it this because I find hope and beauty in the terrible parts of life. I'm happy when I suffer because I know that I'm learning and living the human condition. I'm one of those people who think that suffering is inevitable, but I also think that suffering is essential in having a good life. A life for me without suffering would not be worth living. Another way to think about it is if suffering is inevitable, then why not try to enjoy it? Find harsh things entertaining, insults funny, and pain is just like happiness, another fleeting emotion. So enjoy it while it lasts, like a blue sky or a rainy day. These things will go away in time, so enjoy them while they last, even if they do cause problems. You could hate a blue sky for giving you a sunburn, or you could love a rainy day for its sounds and calmness. You could view this as optimism, but it isn't avoiding negative parts of life, but rather embracing them and loving them as they are. I think it strikes a nice balance between the two common options, and I recommend it to those that ask for my help. The negatives is that sometimes it can turn you into a glutton for punishment. If you enjoy it, then it isn't bad, but sometimes it can accidentally keep you in bad situations due to not fully feeling how negative things actually are. And we finally are to Hobo. The starter base is finally built, and I finally have some food. The place I put the nether portal isn't permanent, but it will do for a few episodes. A small teaser, I'm going to use the nether to get some leather. That rhymed. I really enjoyed making today's episode, and am proud of what I was able to create. I know I still have a long road and lots of things to learn, but I'm excited. Thank you for indulging my idea that somehow I'm helpful, and I hope your life isn't getting too difficult to handle. I hope I've made your life a little better than if I wasn't here at all. And remember, I'm no one wise.